freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Greg DuCharme, joined now by Sia Nejad. This is our round 3 recap of the Genesis Scottish Open, which is, Sia, I'll tell you what, it's really exciting to get to watch a little bit of links golf.
It is exciting. I'll tell you what, this has been really such a topsy-turvy tournament in terms of what my expectation has been. You know, round 1, I had a certain expectation of what the scoring would be, and round 2, the same thing. And then today, you know, now we'll get into this later, but today, watching like Xander, for example, just kind of dominate the course up until the last couple of holes, it really kind of tells you that when it comes to this type of setup, if you're just playing well, the course is going to reward you. And if you're not, you're going to find enough trouble here and there where your score is going to be flat. And in Xander's case, and some of the other guys I'm sure we'll talk about, man, they were just kind of dominant, totally zoned in.
Totally zoned in. Xander was absolutely zoned in today. We'll talk about him in just a minute, but I just wanted to, you mentioned the scoring today, the ability to dominate this golf course. And today was definitely the easiest day so far. It was about 0.6 over par today. Yesterday was like 2.5 shots over par, which was extremely difficult. The scoring average was 72.532. And then in round 1, it was also well over par. And remember, you had a 61 in there, but it was 71.9, so nearly 72. Today, it's significantly easier, and I think a lot of that had to do with the wind. But Xander Sia was able to take advantage of it. He played a beautiful round of golf today and looked fully in control. And here we go again. He now has the 54-hole lead for the 5th time in his career. He's converted one of those, and it happened to be his last. But think about this run. You're talking about a Travelers Championship victory. He goes and plays in a Pro-Am at Adare Manor, and he wins it. And now here we are through 54 holes at the Scottish Open, and he's your leader by 2.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember listening to the first cut. I think it was earlier this week, but I know Mark Immelman has been on this for at least a few weeks now, where he's been watching Xander, whether it's at the Travelers or somewhere else. You know, he's on the course, as everybody knows. And, you know, I can't use his exact words because I don't remember the exact words, but Mark was like, listen, Xander is in a zone right now. He is just so comfortable with his game. And, you know, for some people, when some people say that, I kind of dismiss it because I'm like, all right, well, that's great that he's zoned in right now. But, you know, a lot of people are zoned in right now and then they're not zoned in, you know, the next time out. But when Mark says it, it kind of rings a little bit more true. And for my own selfish reasons, I wish I had paid a little bit more attention to Mark's words on that because he's been on this for a few weeks. With all that said, yeah, he's locked in here.
Yeah, well, you don't typically see runs like this. You don't see, not that he's done anything yet. This is far from over. He leads Rafa Cabrera-Bello only by 2. You have Jordan Spieth and Ryan Palmer trailing Jordan Smith as well, the Englishman. They're 3 back, and then you have Matt Fitzpatrick who's 4 back. This thing is still very much open. But you think about that confidence in someone's game, and you take a player who is 11 shots back after the first round. That's Xander. And he just keeps on doing what he's doing. He trusts his game. He trusts the zone that he's in. And here we are 2 rounds later, and he's in the lead by 2. So things change very quickly, but it takes a confidence in your ability. It takes a confidence in your game to move along the way that he has. And it's been really impressive. His tee to green performance has just been phenomenal this week.
So Greg, I got to ask you, who in the chase pack is a threat to him? And let me just share a quick story. I on Twitter late last night, I put out kind of fantastical tweet that I thought it was interesting that in these conditions with 2 rounds left, guys like Cam Smith, Sam Burns, and Max Homa were all between 180 and 250 to 1. And so I mentioned in the tweet that I was just going to dabble on those 3. I might have thrown in Chris Kirk in there as well at like 300 to 1 or something. Anyway, a couple people joined, and it turns out Max Homa is at -2, and he's 5 shots back, and he's playing really well. It's not like this is smoke and mirrors. Tee to green, this guy has been awesome. He's been pretty much good everywhere on the season, but also in this tournament. I'm curious, Greg, are the -2s in play, or is that just because Xander's at the top? Is that just a little bit more bite than anyone can chew at this point?
Well, I do think it's a stretch, but at the same time, tomorrow we're expecting winds to be near 20 miles an hour. We're expecting some high winds. So I think that really opens it up. And if Xander struggles, if you take Xander out of it, this is far from a real lead situation like we get sometimes, usually after round one. But you have Rafa sitting at five under par. So if Xander backs up tomorrow, the 2 unders are absolutely in it. They're only then 3 back of one player. So they are absolutely in it. I would say the even pars are probably a little too far back. But even a Patrick Cantlay, who's at 1 under, he's probably not too far back. But a lot of that is up to Xander Schauffele at that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and fortunately for anybody who has somebody in the chase pack, he did bogey 17 and he did bogey 18. And I think that's interesting for tomorrow too, because those 2 holes in particular see like they're probably going to be problematic tomorrow as well, especially if the winds are kicked up a little bit higher than they were today. So I don't really think any lead is safe going into 17. Let's say it's Xander going into 17 with like a 3-shot lead. That's probably pretty safe, but anything, 2 shots or closer, I think, it's anybody's game at that point.
Right. And that's where, if you think about what these guys, is there a 5 under par round out there? And I think tomorrow there probably is, but it might be 5 under is doable in any conditions. So I think that really opens it up depending on what Xander does. And if he continues to stay in that zone, he's going to be really hard to catch. But there's another player, Sia, in the chase pack in Jordan Spieth. We're going to talk about him next. But first, we got to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. All right, I want to quickly talk about Jordan Spieth. Then I want to take a look at some of these odds here. So I guess I'll do it this way. If you look at the odds first, Jordan Spieth right now is the second favorite. Xander is at -110, and you have Jordan Spieth at +650. When you look at Jordan Spieth, is that a bettable mark? Is he a guy that you really like in the chase pack here? He's having a great week tee to green. He's third in the field so far.
Yeah, and he was, I think, third in the field just in round 3 as well.
So, he was.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Spieth at +650, +700. I think that Caesars had it at +700, and it kicked down to +650, and that wasn't because something happened one way or the other. It was because I think they thought they put up maybe a bad number. So I still think +650 is a pretty good number. He's 3 back, but there's really, in terms of talent, there is not a threat around him other than the leader himself, Xander Schauffele. So listen, all due respect to Rafa Cabrera-Bello, like, he's playing great. I hope he makes a comeback because I've been kind of wondering where he's been over the last 3 or 4 years. Ryan Palmer's been doing great. Jordan Smith has been playing great. I don't expect any of those guys. Maybe Matt Fitzpatrick could conceivably threaten, but I actually think plus 650 is a pretty good number. And it wouldn't shock me at all if Spieth and Xander are tied going into the back 9. Wouldn't shock me at all.
Right. And Xander's kind of at that 4 under mark is where I think the players don't need help from Xander. Xander can play a good round and be caught by somebody in the 4 under mark. Mm-hmm. The 3 unders like a Matt Fitzpatrick, the 2 unders like your boy Max Homa this week, that I think that's a little bit more of a stretch if Xander plays a good round of golf. But Jordan can catch Xander with a good round of golf. And I think that makes for a really interesting comparison. And the other thing that Jordan has not done yet is he hasn't had a really hot putting round. Today, he gained 1.8 strokes on the greens. He was 10th in the field, which was great, but it's by no means a hot day for him. He made 2 eagles, which was great. And I think if we see a day where the flat stick gets hot for Jordan, he's definitely into it. But see, you look at this board, everybody else aside from Spieth, who's the guy you're circling? What number do you like the most? Who are you thinking is really going to take this thing home?
Well, of course, I'm a little partial to Max Homa at 250 to 1, now 40 to 1, of course. Honestly, for me, I'm not betting Xander, obviously, at -110. I really like Jordan Spieth. I mean, I hate to be sort of boring about it, but I just have no expectation that anybody in this chase pack I'm looking at Joaquin Niemann at 40 to 1. I'm not really feeling that one either. So for me, it's either Jordan Spieth or I wait for a live bet. So at some point in the tournament, Max Homa at 41, Joaquin Niemann at 41, they're both at -2. I'm not really interested in those numbers. So it's a no bet or it's Jordan Spieth for me.
I would throw Matt Fitzpatrick into the ring too. I think you have to give him a little bit of respect. And at plus 1100, I think that's a really good number. And he's been playing, obviously, some fantastic golf, and it continues this week. So I really like what I've seen out of Fitzpatrick too. He just stays steady, and we get in those difficult conditions tomorrow, I think you're looking at one of those three guys, Xander, Spieth, Fitzpatrick, and we can throw Holman into the mix too. The way he's driving it has just been spectacular. So see you tomorrow. We got our final round recap, and we'll break down all the action from the Genesis, and then we're on to the Open Championship. More links golf. We get to see that ball bouncing along the ground a little bit. We see these players flighting it low and running it up, which is so fun to see. So thank you for joining me tonight, and enjoy the rest of it.
I can't wait to watch tomorrow. This is going to be really interesting.
So one real quick before we wrap up, who's your winner? Not odds related. Who do you think wins this thing?
Man, it's hard to stray from Xander here.
Yeah.
But to me, it's between Xander and Jordan Spieth. And I think Xander's just playing just well enough that even if he has like a somewhat pedestrian 9 or front 9 or back 9, I think he has enough firepower and enough experience to withstand all comers. It's
been quite a run. That would make him this being his 5th. It'd make him 2 for 6 in with 54 hole leads, which would be pretty special, pretty cool to see heading into an Open Championship on a true heater. That would be Xander Schauffele. So we'll have all that action tomorrow after the round. Enjoy the coffee golf. Enjoy the links golf. We'll be back with you then. That's Sia Nejad. You can find him on Twitter at Sia Nejad. I'm Greg DuCharme. I'm on Twitter at TheRealGFD. Big thanks to Jacob Hallex for all his hard work behind the glass. And he's at Jacob_Hallex as well on Twitter. Also a great follow. So that's it for us. Thanks. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.